Wow! I feel the goo. I know that I will know. I feel the goo. I knew that I would now. So much goo. So much goo. I got a you.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the last Goocast of the season. So if you guys didn't know, this is finally the end to season 1 of the Goocast. And the reason why we're having that is because in season 2, we're going to bring on new guests. We're going to change the question, maybe bring on some guests from before as well. But for today's guest, we have none other than MBT.
Hey, what's good?
Yep, I'm super excited to have MBT Joseph on. This is gonna be a really sick episode. I think today we're mainly just gonna be focusing on, just talking about just general things like who he is, where he came from, like what's going on, and like maybe some stuff about the future. But yeah, Joseph, how are you feeling today? You good?
I'm good. I'm good.
Nice.
I'm feeling great. Thank you so much for having me on. I love the GooCast. I'm happy to be the first truly competitive player that you've ever interviewed.
You are so handsome.
Second to
Thank you,
Farfa,
thank
of
you.
course.
Of course. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, BB
let's be serious here.
Yeah.
So, Joseph, talking about your Yugitubing career, how did your junior journey start 5 years ago?
I when about 5 years ago, I did a really stupid thing. I majored in theater in college, and I moved to New York City, and I was like doing acting gigs, and it was like a lot of stuff at night. You would like audition late in the day, and then you would rehearse at night, and then most of the time you were just like sitting around waiting, unless you were doing cattle calls. So I would just like sit around all day, and I was bored as hell. And it was right after like BA Monarch, the Pendulum Cosmo format, which I really liked. And so I was just like jamming Yu-Gi-Oh and like Dueling Book, and I was like, this sucks. Maybe I should like I'll at least get some practice like talking in front of a camera if I just like record myself doing this. So I just started doing that during the day, and I guess it prevented me from going insane. I mean, I guess you could argue I went insane in a different way. And then I kept doing that until about 2019.
Yep.
I was working a 9 to 5 at that point, and I got furloughed for COVID, and I said, fuck it, let's see if we can do this full time, and that's where I've been since.
Nice. That's awesome. And I mean,
Yeah,
I've
been a
been
blast.
I've been a big fan of you since I even started. I think I met you in Vegas, but I didn't really I was still kind of new to the scene. But it was YCS Vegas 2020. I believe you were teamed up with none other than Simo and Gage, and you
Big
were
Alex.
you were hard carrying them.
Well, okay, so everyone, that event was insane.
Yeah.
I showed up to that event to play speed duels. Actually, I was trying to pill Alex and
Wait,
Gage
what?
on speed duels because Moth had just come out, and it was just free money. You just showed up
Yep.
with Moth, and you just like took everything. Um, but we played the 3v3, and I played like hero, and I won all my matches, and all these people were like, "Oh my god, Joseph!" I remember being on Reddit the next day, and they were like, "Joseph is so good. He went undefeated at the YCs. He's gonna blow the hinges off this thing." I'm like, "You understand that we were like 1-3? I was playing like children, like it was like, oh my god, Joseph went undefeated. He beat like the no show. Incredible! Wow, how
Yeah.
could he have accomplished that?" That event was so fun though. That was the first time I really got to meet everyone as well.
Mhm.
And then we didn't see each other at all for years because of COVID. But
Yep.
the funniest part of that event was our winning in for day 2 was up against Ediception's team, and we lost it because Simo forgot the droll was for both players, and he drew under it,
Oh,
and then he shuffled his
Oh,
hand, and
no.
everyone at the table had forgotten it except for my opponent, who I beat in like 5 minutes, and he was
Yeah.
like, "Wait." He was the only one paying attention to the game. He was like, "Wait," he called over a judge. We got fucked. And I was
Oh,
like,
because
"Okay, well."
did he try to Phantasme under Droll? Is that what happened? I'm
Yep,
assuming?
that's exactly what
Okay.
happened. Yeah,
It's
he
very
was
common
like
mistake.
on Salad versus Spiral, and it was awful.
Ah, damn. Okay.
I do miss that format a lot.
Do you have a favorite format in particular that you like are a fan of, or it could even be this format? Like, what do you typically enjoy or look for when you determine a quote unquote good format for yourself?
Um, If Heroes playable? No. We
Yep.
I History of Yu-Gi-Oh has been really sick because I
Okay.
get to play all these formats that like I missed or like was priced out of or whatever. Um, and I've learned that I I do really like. I actually I'm a big sick. Can we cuss on this show?
Yeah, yeah. Go for it. Go for it.
Good. Okay. I'm like a big fucking sicko. I love the like wind up formats. There's like
Oh,
3 or 4
No.
wind up formats in a
No.
row. Oh man. The
wait.
one
So
that's
that
like
No.
that's wait. Wine Format is 2012, right? With
yeah, it's
Rabbit
like
and
I
Zector.
2012
fucking hate it. It's horrible.
post Hunter ban. It's like a really fun format. Um I like
Oh, post.
I like a couple of like weird '09 formats. I think that someone was talking to me and they were like, before 2009, it kind of feels like Yu-Gi-Oh is just like a different kind of Magic the Gathering. But once like
Yeah.
Synchros come out, Teledad is like the first modern combo deck.
Mhm.
Glad's is like the first archetypal deck really that saw a lot of success. Then it's like Yu-Gi-Oh is Yu-Gi-Oh, and I like a ton of those formats. Edison, of course. I think a format that is way underexplored, and when we hit it in history, I think some people are probably going to try it out, is like 2016 Inov format. I think is
Ooh,
really fun.
nice.
It's like right before the ABC structure is released. It's like Mermail, a couple of Toad decks like Paleo and Hero, Dark Lord, Dark Magician is like tiered, Metal Foes Cosmo. It's like a bunch of dog shit, and people just didn't like try it out that much because they were like, oh, we'll just wait for ABC and then we'll play that. And then you mentioned I really like the current format as well. I've had a lot of fun. I mean, from like 2018 to now, I've really, I mean, I've kept up with Yu-Gi-Oh, and I've gone to events, I've gone to Nats and stuff, or when they were being hosted, but it, there's just like every format, there's like 3 or 4 decks that are just ass to play against, and they're just like the format is frustrating, or there's like an FTK or a deck that puts up a million negates or something like that, and I really like the current one. It feels like since Power of the Elements, it's like they're designing decks in a different way, and I
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited to see. I know we talked about Weiss's Vegas 2020. We have,
Mhm.
3 years later, Weiss's Vegas 2023, also a Team
Oh,
Weiss, yes.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited. I'm so excited.
Are you running it back with the great
We are running
Alex
it
and
back. Yeah,
Gage? Okay,
we're
sick.
running it back.
Okay.
I'm confident in Alex.
Oh my,
He
yes,
did
he's
not
insane.
play any competitive Yu-Gi-Oh from
Mhm.
like 2000, from that event basically
Yep.
until Pasadena,
Yep.
I think.
Weiss's Pasta,
He
yeah.
he Yeah, he literally did not know any of the decks that were good, and he like I've never seen someone boot camp the way he did. He got really really good at tier,
Yeah.
and then his tournament just didn't go his way. He played against like the wrong matchups and
Yep.
shit like that. But um, I'm confident in that. I'm confident in Gage too. I think Gage is a good player, but he has this like problem where if no one tells him like shut the
What
fuck
to
up
do?
and stop,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
then he'll like audible at the last minute onto like yo, I just lost to this deck on Master Duel. I have to play like Blue Eyes Branded, and then he'll just
Bro.
like buy. He'll be like, we'll be like, don't play Blue Eyes Branded. And he'll be like, no, but you
I-
can get like DDS Blue Eyes, and then he'll do it, and then it doesn't
Bro,
work
I don't
out.
know
So
what possessed him to play that Naturia deck at
Oh.
once.
he was
Yeah.
trying to talk to me about it. He was
Yeah.
like, yo, it was a Josh Schmidt list. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And he's showing me the tweet, and I'm like, Gage, this is from 2 months ago. We didn't even. He's missing half. Like the whole archetype wasn't
Yeah.
spoiled yet. He's like, no, it's great. It's great.
No, and speaking of Alex, he's actually insane. Like he was texting me the other day. He was before Rice's passing. He's like, bro, like I've been in the camp. I've been training. I'm like, really? Like I didn't expect that because I know he's like really busy making all his videos, all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, that's hype. And then when I saw him in Pasadena and he was playing too, I'm like, yo, he's been putting in the work. That's pretty. I mean, that's awesome for me to see. I love that. So
It was actually pretty crazy. I think he made a call that he and I don't know if you know Ceremanon.
Mhm.
Ben
Yeah,
was
Ben.
part of a circle. I was with him. We had Rebecca in there, and then he was playing with like the card guys people,
Yep.
and he
Mhm.
they, I think actually next leveled themselves. Uh, they were making all these decisions based on like tier limit theory that wouldn't develop for the next couple of weeks.
Oh
They were
wow.
like expecting everyone to show up with like one Agito, to have cut heralds from the main because it was like bad in the mirror if they
Yep.
didn't get to Dweller and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And they were playing against like week 1 tier builds where everyone was just like maxed out on everything and like
Yep.
playing as much as they could. And it was like I they just kind of ran a circle around themselves. I feel like it was very frustrating.
Yeah. It's tough. Like preparing for events is really tough. I think like that's one of the things that I even struggle with right now. We have YCS Leon in February, the week before Vegas, and YCS Mexico
Mm.
City. And
Are you
yeah,
going to all those?
yeah. So I'll be going to YCS Mexico City. It's the same weekend as France.
Mhm.
But it's nice because I get 3v3 practice with Cody and Shu, my teammates, prior to Vegas, and I'm teaming up with them back to back. So I was
Oh,
like
that's gonna be sick.
I convinced them. I'm like, bro, let's go to Mexico. I know like France would be sick, but we have to go to Mexico. We'll train as a team 3v3, then we'll run it back in Vegas, and bro, you know what I'm saying? Make some history.
I'm still sick. I'm still sick.
Yeah, and that's
I'm
just
still
sick because
sick.
I told him I would go to France, and then I bamboozled him.
That's why I'm going
Wow.
to France, brother. That's why I'm going to France. I thought he was gonna go, and I booked. I didn't buy the
Yeah.
ticket though, so I was just enjoying the France landscapes. You know.
Just you go to France and then you scrub out of the main event. You do the 3v3 side. That's practice. You could beat like the 4 other people who showed up for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Joseph, would you define yourself as the king of rogue with all the 10 minutes testing that you made on your channel?
No.
I mean, I saw you testing Dream Mirrors as well. Like,
Yeah,
what,
we-
4 years ago you tested Dream Mirrors and you said, oh my god, it's a pain. Let's remember. We do it for the ad revenue, stuff like that.
Yeah, no. No, there 10-minute testing was fun. There's the way it is now, it's like once a week. I really like where it's ended up, but there was a time is really early in my channel where I was doing one a day. I was doing 5 of them a week.
Wow.
And you know, they can't be good. If that's your video schedule, they are not going to be good. And so I go back and watch them and I'm like, these are fucking awful. But it's also like I would run out of shit to test. It would be like, all right, here's the 8th build of this deck, or I'd be like, here's this like 4-card archetype. And that's where the Dream Mirror ones came in. In a better world, I would have never looked at that archetype.
Yeah, because I think that what Nesh is getting to is that you've, I guess, did so many 10-minute testings and so many different decks, so many archetypes that I think your knowledge pool of cards is like really wide. And I think that's a really good thing, especially if you think from a competitive sense, that having a great understanding of multiple formats from playing History of Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, or just doing a bunch of archetype testing, you know, that helps you into like formats for the future, right? Because like random cards becomes relevant again. Like we have Swords of Concealing Light being randomly attack against like Castiras, right? Like which no one would have thought about, but if you probably came across that card somewhere in you know, as you're looking through History of Yu-Gi-Oh, like that's like an example where, you know, having really wide knowledge is important, and I think you do have a pretty wide knowledge of like archetypes. So
That's actually I think a 2016 Blue Eyes tech that people were trying out was Swords of
That's crazy.
Concealing.
Bro, this man is a Wikipedia, I'm telling you. Look at that. Like, he knows everything.
No, it is weird. I think I do have a really good like kind of breadth of knowledge in terms of like I pretty much know what my go is like sitting down. I can like figure out what my opponent is trying to do with their deck. And for a lot of new players, I know it's really frustrating kind of having to intuit that kind of thing.
Yep.
You know, like if you sit down against a Psy-Frame player for the first time, like good luck. Like what do you have no idea what they're gonna do.
yeah.
But that it has only been in the last year that I've been like kind of that breadth of understanding has been like a huge like crutch for me because it's good enough to net you wins against like mid players constantly, but you really never develop the sort of depth of understanding that's necessary to like break into like real competitive success. Like, you know, I could tell you every deck everyone is playing this format like down to like the 30th or 40th deck, but I do not have remotely enough knowledge about like the tier limit mirror specifically to feel comfortable going into a YCS with it. So you know, there's pluses and minuses, but it is fun to be like, yeah, Concealing Light has seen play 4 or 5 times. It's like...
What's I've seen like, I know like for the last couple of YCs, you know, you've been tweeting that you've been really putting in the work to, you know, try and see competitive success at events. Like do you want, like, I guess what is your goal with like these YCSs? I know like one of your first YCs was like, you know, I want a day 2. Like what's the end game for you? Like you want to, I mean, I guess everyone wants to win.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I just want to top. The the problem though is uh man, when I see the amount of practice it takes to get really truly good, I'm like, God, I really don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
Um, but it was like a couple of maybe like a year and a half ago, I just sort of had this revelation that it was like I had been doing fine in Yu-Gi-Oh for a while.
Hmm.
Like, there's a lot of like decent Yu-Gi-Oh players, and I was like one of those. I was like, I'd been fine, and then I was thinking, I was like, when was the last time I made like a decision in Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yes.
That wasn't just like executing a combo that I knew, or like being like, oh, my opponent's on this. This is the choke point. And so, I do think that like topping a YCS is pretty far off. But for now, I'm just trying to kind of get uh I guess into the format in a meaningful way.
Okay. Okay. I like that. No. Hey, all I'm saying is if you ever want to practice, I think Nesh and I would be more than glad to theory yourself
Oh,
All I
for
need,
sure.
you.
brother,
Yeah.
brother, hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. We can do a good exchange, okay?
A good exchange.
An
Habibi.
A
exchange.
good exchange. I need suggest Abibi. I need suggestion for my YouTube, and I will coach your ass. I don't care what I have to do. Like you help me with YouTube, you give me suggestions. You say Nash, this is bad. Do this way. Do this other way, and then we can sit the entire day talking about Yu-Gi-Oh because that's what I love anyways. May as well, right?
Wow, what an exchange. That,
Yeah, yeah.
I tried
it's
to
a
do it
trade.
with Farfa. Farfa ghosted me.
yeah, I mean, Farfa did do pretty well at that nationals event. But I think that's awesome. Like I think more people as like I think want to do well at events, and I like seeing that. I think that's awesome. I mean,
And it's
yeah,
I mean, a lot of it has to do with the rise of like Yu-Gi-Oh personalities like, you two,
mhm.
that are actually good at Yu-Gi-Oh. Like that's a very modern thing. Usually like the people who were making Yu-Gi-Oh videos were like, uh, uh Battling Boxer players be like, and then they're like, wow.
Yeah.
But it has been nice to see kind of, there used to be like this is like the Yu-Gi-Oh community and this is like the professional player community, and it's been nice seeing people like the pair of you and people like Jesse Cotton showing up constantly on Sam's channel.
Yeah.
I know Hani's breaking into making
Yep.
guides and stuff.
Yep.
It's been really cool, and I think it is motivating a lot of people to like actually take the game seriously instead of being like, here's how cool Blue Eyes White Dragon is.
Hey, Blue Eyes is pretty cool. You know.
He's cool. He
Talking
is
about
cool. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Talking about Yugi tubing, from your recent video, you say that hitting 100k is almost impossible for a Yugi tuber, except for Team Samurai that can reach 1 million. Like it's actually very realistic of him hitting the 1 million subscribers. Why is it so far to reach this kind of numbers for other content creator in the Yu-Gi-Oh space?
I don't know. It's a weird thing. I mean, I think the video you're talking about is like it's the one where I just like talk about getting into Yugi tubing, and
Yep.
I think I say in that one, I'm like, as little as like 5 years ago, the like big titans of Yu-Gi-Oh YouTubing were at like 10K. You had like
Yeah.
Vexicus was like, oh my god, he has 15K. That's it. Like Robbie has 40, and you would subscribe to him to get into Zodiac. So no one was ever going to top that. Um, I will say, there was a time when I was like, I don't think any like there's probably going to be like 20 Yu-Gi-Oh people ever that get 100K. There just wasn't the audience for it. But every year I've been surprised by
Yeah.
more people coming into it. Like I think Master Duel helps a lot. I think it's a super resilient game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Sam hit a million like within the next couple of years. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of people start hitting 100K, especially as like I think shorts are really really good
Popular.
for Yu-Gi-Oh subgrowth specifically. I mean, you got like head-to-head battles
Yep.
has like quadrupled the size of their channel this year.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who are now seeing a ton of growth that I thought was impossible last year. But um no, I used to think like Yu-Gi-Oh was too small of a thing for people to focus on to have
Mhm.
like mainstream YouTube success, but I'm loving to having I love to have been proven wrong, and
Yeah.
it's been looking good
I
recently for
mean,
sure.
congrats to you for I think recently hitting 100,000 subscribers yourself, right? Like I think
Yeah, that was crazy. That
that
was crazy.
it. Like I said, it's nice to be pleasantly surprised by just how much traction this game has gone. Like we see even like really big YouTubers like get into this game, like Saikuno, for example. Like he's been trying to bridge that gap between like so many different individuals from across so many different communities to like maybe get in this game. Like he's been collabing with even VTubers, right? Like
Yeah.
Iron Mouse, for example.
Yeah.
So
No,
I
it was
it's
crazy.
awesome. Yeah,
We got like Ludwig doing the tournament.
Ludwig's
Obviously,
well.
Charlie's been huge. Um, Iron Mouse plays on stream. Rhyme Style.
Yeah,
TGS Anime is like a master duel streamer now.
yeah,
It's crazy. It's just
yeah.
it's wild.
And I think going off that same tangent, right? We talk about like Master Duel, and we have to also, as a result, talk about like Konami, right? I know you always
Mhm.
joke around about being sponsored by Konami or doing one of their products review. So what's your so what's your thought process regarding that? Do you actually want to, I guess, work with Konami, and like in what capacity do you see yourself like managing that relationship and getting sponsored per se,
So realistically, I don't think there's any shot that they do. I think that like I am too well known as like the streamer who says bussy like to ever land a
Yeah.
Konami sponsorship at this point. But I really would like to work with them, and I think that there's
Mhm.
like a significant amount of it is just mind-boggling. It feels like there's a lot of stuff that they do, and then they just don't remotely advertise.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
the like Duel Links voice actor battle royale thing I thought was super cool, and they just
Yeah.
like never told anyone it was happening. The cross duel thing, they like paid like the 4 greatest Hearthstone players of all time
Yeah.
to advertise that game, and then like told people day of. Um, I mean, I think that if
Sorry.
Konami, if you're watching, if you ever have a product you think is dog shit, is not going to sell, throw it at me and I will force it down people's throats. I'll
Yep.
I'll be like,
I
no, you
remember.
gotta buy the the Elemental Hero Clayman retrain. It's crazy.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. And like it, it's in the same vein as like Master Duel. Like, what do you think the future of Master Duel looks like? I guess is it like do you see it actually growing to an esports? Because if you remember back when this game got announced like 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago, we saw the trailers and we were all reacting to it. We were like, "Yo, this game's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be an esports scene." What's your thought process with that? Like, do you think that there is capability for an esports, I guess, ability to like just
Uh,
come in?
yeah, this
Yeah.
is like this is a huge topic that I've thought a lot about. Definitely, I think it was a huge fumbled bag. I remember they billed it as like an esport, right? Like
Yep.
in the press releases, they were like, "This is like the esports future
Right.
of Yu-Gi-Oh!" And I think they thought it would be like Hearthstone, like when they had the Grandmasters and everything. Um, and I remember really early on, all these like T2 esport organizations were like sending me shit and being like,
Mhm.
would you want to stream under this tag? And I was like, oh, that's cool. And now it's like, I mean, I would be shocked to get a call back from any of these people. Like every one of these people is like, okay, this was a complete hoax. There's no
Yeah.
any sort of anything. And for me, it's because like there's just not a reason to be good at it, right?
Right.
Like you can get to Diamond 1 with pretty much anything, like
Mhm.
any deck in the top 20 or 30.
Yeah.
Um, and outside of that, there's like the Duelist Cup, which is um, you play the deck with the 51% win rate that wins or loses really fast,
Yeah.
and then you just grind it out. And then the what you get when you get it, like when the KC Cup came out in Duel Links, you would get like an invite to Worlds, and that was
Right.
crazy. And for this, you get like your border is like slightly more shiny, like really cool.
Like it's
I
so
really like
stupid.
what's it is. It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
and like I really like actually what they're doing in Europe.
Oh,
The like
the
streamer
tournaments.
tournaments.
Yeah, streamer tournaments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a good start, but I think that the number one thing that Master Duel needs is like um a Road to Worlds,
Yep.
Konami sanctioned tournaments, and I think there needs to be some amount of care put into like it as a competitive vehicle, because like even before there's any investment in infrastructure, uh, it's not like the way that Konami tournaments are played isn't super competitive. It's like the million card side deck or whatever.
Yeah.
So even in these tournaments for like Farfa and Zulu and stuff that they've invested all this money into, and the pricing isn't bad. Um, Even for these sick tournaments, it's like game one, you play this like intense back and forth. Game two, the player who's going first plays an FTK, and the player that's going second plays Numeron with 24 hand traps, and
Yeah.
like that's just what they always are. And
Can I shoot a message to Konami since we are talking about the cups, the European cups?
yeah,
Konami, I know that from my accent you might not understand the fact that I'm not American. I'm European. Call me. I love you.
What the fuck?
We
Okay.
can proceed.
I thought you were from like California. What happened?
I know. I was crazy.
No, but I think that Master Duel has a lot of potential. Like obviously all these huge streamers are like invested in it. They think it's super cool. It looks
Yep.
nice. It's fun to watch. I think they did a great job on it, but there's just nothing in the competitive scene.
Yeah.
But this is going up in 2 weeks. In about 2 weeks, it's probably announced by now, but I'm putting together a circuit series with Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck, TCG player. Fingers crossed that might not be true. You may have to edit that one out. And because Jason Grabbermeyer is on that team and is also a Konami employee, and Duel Logs is also funding one of them, and
Nice.
we're doing weekly like 1K tournaments and then like a 10K playoff after 16 weeks.
Wow.
And I'm real
Holy shit.
excited for that. I think it's going to be really cool. It's going to
Nice.
give a lot of people who are like weekend warriors who are like good at Master Duel but want to make the jump to something more competitive an opportunity to do that. And I think it's also going to be a good way to figure out what's actually good in Master Duel, because I don't think we know that shit either.
Right. I think this is a great like testing ground almost, because we get to see like everyone has theories on what type of format will work best in Master Duel, and it's really hard to compare it to like TCG because quite frankly it's not the same.
Yeah.
So I do like this, and I think another point to make here that I think is super under the radar is that by doing this, I think, you know, we talked a little bit about this on the side, Joseph, but esports organizations might have a reason to almost invest in the Yu-Gi-Oh scene, right? In the Master Duel scene, because if they see that something like a circuit series is doing that well or really well, then maybe they're like, okay, maybe there is a reason to get good in this game. Maybe there is a reason to have a esports presence, and that could maybe push the game in a trajectory that we're all been, you know, that we've been, I guess, like striving towards, right? So I think this is an awesome step for sure.
That's what I'm hoping for sure. I do, you know, like ideally it would be a scenario where like a bunch of like the Smash orgs feel comfortable, you know, hosting a or investing in a Yu-Gi-Oh player or something. Because the other thing about online Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments is there is an insane amount of like unsigned talent.
Yep.
And I would like to see some people who are like real good get rewarded for it. I mean, more so than like the $50
Thank you,
free
Joseph.
weeklies that are the entirety of the Master Duel meta right now.
Thank you, Joseph.
Yeah, this is the Nesh Cup. It's the Nesh money laundering cup.
I'll try. I'll try my best. I love Master Duel. I always was a fan of Master Duel, even when Pac did not believe in it. Pac, how many times I told you?
Are you
How many
serious? Yo,
I
there's no
told you
way.
to believe in Konami. I was the first one, literally the first one to believe in the project.
Bro, you're literally bronze. Like, you haven't even played that game.
We all love activating Maxi. It's great. It's
Yeah.
lovely.
Oh man, I think that's the thing that I've been feeling as I play more and more Master Duel recently. It's actually been more enjoyable as because I no longer think of it like TCG. I think that's the mindset I feel like holds most people back that are trying to enter the Master Duel space. Is like they're like, man, this is not like TCG at all, so I hate it. But I'm like, well, it's I don't think the game's just not the same. Like it's just so vastly different. Maybe it could be the same. But you know, they each have their own problems, their pros and cons in different ways. I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna I do like where the TCG is a lot better than where I like the Master Duel format right
Right.
now. But yeah, it is definitely. I think we spend a lot of time being like, should Maxi be in the format, etc., without being like, okay, this is just a different game. It just
Yeah.
works differently.
Yeah. Just bro,
I mean,
Maxi,
to be
just
honest,
crazy.
you can see also Master Duel popping off because there is this kind of redundancy right now in the current metagame with all this tier element, and now tier element is gonna get even more stronger with the cash tier support. And do you think there will be a ban list, Joseph, after Lion,
When?
after Leon?
I guess like for when you play your YCS Vegas tournament, do you think there'll be a ban list or is it
Yeah,
just
one change, malicious to 3. We're running it back with Hero. No,
Oh.
I don't know. I think there may be. I think that it's only gonna have been what, like 2 months and change since the last one.
Yeah.
But I feel like they will wait to see what Cash Tira does like to the metagame,
Mhm.
and
Already
that
know
deck will
what
be
it does.
fine.
It will
It's
shit on every deck. We already know what it does. There is
it's
literal brother, my brother in Christ. They literally destroyed the tier elements in UCG, and it's still winning. Like there is Alphenis to
No kick close.
Sharon to
I
one,
love
no
it. I
kick
love that
chaos,
they're still playing tier. It's
Yeah,
so funny.
they're actually just playing tier still. I'm just like, bro, you
and they
have
are
no
still,
kit.
and they are still slapping chicks. Like that's crazy.
If you look at the lists, it's like 21 ofs. They're like, we don't need more than one Havness. We don't need more than one Sheeran,
Yep.
one Rhino Heart. That's optimal. It's
Dude,
incredible.
Because there are so many ways to send it to the graveyard. It's so good.
yeah. I guess like if speaking of ban lists, if I know you if you could change anything about the format right now with a ban list, like where would you look to?
Um,
It's a tough question. I
yeah,
understand that.
no,
Yeah, it's not
It-
easy. I'm not even sure myself, to be honest. Like, how do I
it's a
make this
weird one.
better for everyone? You know?
Yeah, because like the answer is like, oh, you weaken tier, but like I really don't want like Flu to be way more powerful, you know. When Cash Tira comes out, it's like, oh, cool. So now the best deck is the one that like blocks all zones and macros you. That's really sick. Like it's strange. I think that the cards that I've come around on being just like really unhealthy are the ones that just like produce these non games. I think that like Shifter's super toxic. I think that Barrier Statue's super toxic. But you take those out, and obviously the best deck is just tier. So I don't know. It is. I do think it's a really really hard problem to solve for the TCG if they ever want tier not to be the best deck, and the game to still be fun. And I think it's also really hard. I mean, we're seeing it in the OCG. It's hard to actually kill tier. Like it's going to
Yeah.
require like
I think you
4 or
gotta
5
ban them.
hits.
You have to like ban the
They're gonna have
Sharon.
to,
You gotta
like-
ban the Hoffness. Yeah.
They're gonna have to ban Hofness. They're gonna have to ban shit. They might have to ban like Merly or something. That
Yeah.
would be very
Merly
fun.
is stupid. It's actually
With Sprint,
stupid.
yeah.
Sprint into Merly. That's so too.
Yeah.
That's too good. That's too good.
Yeah.
Like,
And
they
I
actually
will
took
say I really like Sprite. If Sprite becomes the best deck again, that's fine. That deck's
Yeah.
fun.
What's your? I guess I know we talked a little bit about heroes, but what's your favorite deck of all time? You would say. This is the toughest question. I feel like.
I really like 2014 Dark World.
Okay.
This was like it was like Dark World had already been out obviously for 3 years in like full power, and it was on and off playable the whole time, but it was like the rank 8 Xyz pool had just kind of happened, and the builds during that era were just so clean. They were like it was the first time that people were really playing like triple upstart, like they were playing like Into the Voids and shit. Just every draw spell in the universe, they're like on trade-ins, and you would just draw your whole deck, and then you'd end on a bunch of like Graphas. It was like a really slick deck that I liked a lot, and it got to make use of like the terrible Necro Valley that let you still do Grapha stuff. That's I
Oh,
think
yeah.
probably my favorite deck of all time that's not named Hero.
Oh, nice. Okay, sweet.
Respectable.
Yeah.
Very respectable.
I
like that.
I asked you that question because I feel like I have a hard time answering that because there's so many like fun decks, like so many different formats, and It's just like really really difficult. But I think that's really cool. I have to look into it. Is that like during hat format, like 2014 nationals?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, nice.
It's hat is such a strange format because like as
Hat
people
wasn't
have
the best
taken a look at
deck.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was like yeah, hat is like gatekeeping all these decks out.
Mhm.
People just found decks that go over the top of hat, and like now it's like a combo format. Like
Yep.
the best deck is like Infernity. It's crazy. I just the way that these historic formats develop is just so funny.
Yes, I spoke to Joe Giolando on Twitter about this, and he said that he would call this a so charge format instead, because
Yeah,
the decks that
that's a
utilized
good
so
point.
charge the best were the best decks, and Infernities was unironically one of them. Um,
Yeah.
when did you start playing Yu-Gi-Oh? Like when did you like start touching Yu-Gi-Oh cards?
I started like at the beginning, I guess. I was
Okay,
like a kid, obviously.
okay,
Um, and then I started playing like I guess competitively,
tournaments.
probably not until about 2014.
Oh wow, okay.
Uh, I was in college and one of my friends was really good. It's a Sorab Pasikani. He played Volcanic at that one YCS
And
and
he
went
topped, right?
undefeated. And
Yeah.
yeah. And then he fucking ate shit in Battle Pack drafts, and we all made fun of him. But no, and I got back in, and I've just been playing ever since.
Okay.
But yeah, I did miss out on a lot of the fun stuff that happened in like 2011, 12, and 13, and
Mhm.
it's been nice to go back and revisit those and be like play as much wind up as I want, and have the option to stop playing it at some point, which I guess
Yeah.
people didn't.
I think something that I've been thinking about, because it's been a topic that came up in my Twitch chat recently, which was if you could start at any period in Yu-Gi-Oh, like start playing the game competitively at any period in Yu-Gi-Oh, like where would you want to start, right? And I guess my answer to that was I felt like I wanted to start when it was no longer in SJCs as competitive tournaments, but rather YCSs. So that was after Edison format, or after YCS Edison, or SJC Edison, as you would call it. Because I felt like that's when like things got really spicy. When like there was so many
Hmm.
crazy stuff. Frog FTK came out, the format after Edison. You had plant format in like 2011, like Tengus, and you have like your format with like windups and Zector, Rabbit. Um, and so yeah, there like you said, there's so many. But then I guess that's why content creation is so fun, right? Because you're able to revisit or get people interested in those things that you never got to experience. Like I remember I tried to play some retro formats, like Tengu Plant format, for example, and those were like really enjoyable. I wasn't playing at the time, but the fact that I got to relive a part of Yu-Gi-Oh's history is just so cool. So yeah,
I
it's
mean,
been
I
great.
wish I could play the Pharaoh tour, to be honest with you. Like the shit Cyberstand right now, it's 5,000. Might as well, no?
True. They're just all like, "Yo, I need to get that bread now."
I mean, bro, there is also the golden sarcophagus in Italian print,
Yeah,
sarcofago d'oro.
yeah, that's nice.
Just
Just
go back and pick them all up.
brother,
Uh,
like I wish I could have played back in the day during that period. Even
Yeah,
though I was playing, but I was a kid, like, and I had no support to play.
yeah.
Did you had support to play when you were a kid? Like, were
what
you
do you mean?
supported? Like, were you supported by your family when you were
Um,
playing as a kid?
when I was like a little kid and would go to like locals or whatever, oh, my parents loved it because I would get out of the house and they would have like 5 hours away from me. They were like, "Oh, yes, let's go."
Okay.
Um, but no, I think a lot of the I didn't really play from like post Dark Arm Dragon to college because I was like, oh, I think people would think it's like lame, or like they would like make fun of me or something.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
uh then when I was in college, it turns out that no one cared about any of that shit, and I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh for no reason. I was basically like, oh, what if people think I'm a nerd? It's like, yeah, you're not beating the nerd allegations. You got to just lean into it. It's
Yeah.
it's gonna happen. And but yeah, people have been fine about it. I saw a tweet today that was like, would your significant other be more happy if you didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh? And I was like, no. It's a my wife appreciates the things I do. I do think that it is good to have people around you who are like, yeah, your hobbies are cool, you know.
Talking about your wife, I know that she's a cyber angel one trick.
She used to be a Cyber Angel One Trick, yeah.
Because I watched the Yugioh videos. I had to mention it, to be honest.
Yeah, no,
And
we printed out Duel Links decks from back in the day, and she was really good at that deck. That deck was easy to be really good at, though. That deck was crazy.
isn't she jealous about your relationship with Farfa?
She is a little jealous. Yeah, she is. She's. I will say, in actual unironic terms, I think for a while she thought I was gay with Danny. Uh, the Luke
That's
von Karma, I guess.
yeah.
We all went to the same college, and she was like, "Oh, I don't have a shot with this guy. He's gay."
Wait,
But
this was
no,
before or after? After you guys were together?
no, this was way before. This was like
Oh,
2012. Yeah,
okay. Wow. Wait, you guys
And
knew each other all the way back then. That's dope. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
and how were you able to meet all those content creators? Like, okay, like obviously by doing YouTube, but how did you came along with like people like Simo Gage during your YouTube YouTuber era period?
Yeah.
Hope I
When I
phrased it
started, I
correctly.
was pretty much no one knew about me at all, and I basically was making videos into the void until about a year in. Hardleg Gaming had me on he like randomly found my channel and was like, "You should be on a video with me." And then Alex saw something that I had been recommended in and put me in. At that time, the YouTuber Grand Championship was still running, and every year he'd put in like 2 or 3 lobies. And he put me in one year, and I hit it off with a bunch of people, and that's it.
That's crazy. Man, those were sick. I remember Alex used to like do those YouTuber championships. He needs to bring those back. I remember
Yeah,
I
no,
remember watching. They were awesome.
they were sick. If you go back and look at them though,
Yeah.
they did not do well at all. Like
Oh,
the
okay.
last one, they like struggled to hit like 15K. Like people did not want to see, the Farfa MBT mirror match. It was not in the cards.
I have a question about YugiTubing. Back in the days, like YugiTubers were actually betting their own channel, like in duels, right? That's what
Oh,
happened to Farfa with the Glasgow YGO. Did you were ever involved in one of those?
no, no. That's like YugiTube in like 2013 was crazy. Like people would just do and say and upload anything, and I was not a part of it. But um, if you go back and watch some old like CapG videos or like Vexicus ones, it's like, wow, you really could just say anything in these. You could just and yeah, people would play for channels. It was crazy.
It's crazy how much YouTubing has evolved, though, and I think that's something that I
Mm.
wanted to talk about too. That if you think about 10 years ago, people were doing like the trade binder videos and all that stuff.
Mhm.
At some point, I kind of missed it. I kind of want to do like a video where I just upload my binder on the internet and be like, "Hey guys, you want to trade?"
There's there's a lot of like nostalgic stuff about old Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube that I do miss. Gage did like a binder video for Twitter that I thought
Mhm.
was hilarious.
Yeah.
He's just like, "Hey guys, I don't ship first," it was very funny. Um I miss when people would do guest uploads.
Yeah.
That just Now it's just collabs, but they would just like say, "Why don't you upload your dog shit video on my channel?" And they would do it. People would just do it. I miss Vines. The
Oh yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh
It's TikTok
Vines are
now,
like,
right? Yeah.
yeah, but the Yu-Gi-Oh Vines are like so unfunny. You go back and watch them, and they are like, I can't believe we ever thought this was good. And one thing that we just don't have anymore is like someone doing MLG style edits over Edo Pro gameplay. That used to be like 80% of YouTube would be
Yeah.
like someone's Edo Pro YouTube combo, and they'd be like, I'm gonna no scope them, and then they'd play the clip. Um, Probably for the best that we don't have them anymore, but sometimes I'll see like a video that's made like in the style of 2014. I'll be like, hell yeah, let's go.
So YouTube has evolved a lot, and we've seen a big progression, you know, a big progression as the progression series. What do you think Yu-Gi-Oh or Yu-Gi Tubing is doing really well right now, and what are some things that we're missing that we should have or should look into to evolve this space even further? I would say.
I think we're getting really good at like stream highlights. I think Coder's doing a lot of good work. A lot of the stuff that Optimal Media, which is Dan and
Yep.
Gage's editing company, is doing, is just like actually good, like in normal YouTube terms.
Yep.
Um, not just like good for Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube. I think that I've had this conversation a lot with a ton of people, and I think that Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube lags behind like Magic the Gathering YouTube by like
Okay.
a couple years, and lags behind like normal YouTube by like 3 or 4 years. And I think there's a lot of these like high production value shows for like new and returning players like Duel Knight, that are really, really good for the space, but are also just like ideas just straight lifted from other card game communities because they were um, good there as well. I think that Yu-Gi-Oh is missing a lot of like genuinely original thought, like
Yeah. Yeah.
video ideas that aren't being tried elsewhere right now. Like even going back, the video series that I credit with like the genesis of new Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube is Sealed Only,
Yep. Yep.
which I think was like the first time someone was like put a lot of effort into like editing a video, honestly. And even that is like kind of a ripoff of like an old school RuneScape idea.
Yeah.
Um, and then that turned into Progression Series, and then that turned into 45 people copying Progression Series, and here we are now. Um, but uh, I think that someone will figure out something original in Yu-Gi-Oh, and we're all going to go, "Wow, that's crazy." In terms of what we're missing, I think that there is a hunger among the Yu-Gi-Oh player base for limited, like some kind of like drafting or sealed play or cube or something. That kind of stuff is already very popular in Magic the Gathering, and for some reason, like with the exception of exactly the progression series, we can't seem to like get a handle on it. So I'm excited to see what gets developed there. I think that there are a couple of creators that are doing interesting stuff with like limited series that'll be good. And in terms of what the Yu-Gi-Oh community is like missing, the number one thing I always say is primers.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they really don't like they that type of video is specifically designed to do dog shit on YouTube. Like it
Yeah.
takes a million hours to write and edit and script and like research, and then you upload it and people watch it one time. It's like, okay, well,
Explain
um
to people what a primer is for people who may not know.
yeah, so if you play in Magic the Gathering, if you're like learning a deck, you can like Google the name of the deck and the word primer, and you'll get like this lovingly crafted. Sometimes it's a video, sometimes it's like just a big sheet, uh, like a big detailed explanation of why you make individual card choices, what your options are, how to deck build, uh, a sort of game sense of how to play a strategy, which is something I think that Yu-Gi-Oh players are really bad at communicating. Um, a matchup guide, a sideboarding guide, all this stuff. And some of these primers are for simple decks; they're not super big. But even for like terrible decks, the deck that I stole my old name from, Mono Blue Tron, someone wrote like a 100-page primer on this deck that has seen like 4 competitive tops over the course of its lifespan. It's crazy. Um, but it's wild for Yu-Gi-Oh! If I'm like a guy who doesn't know how to play Tearlament like at all, and I've never read any of the cards, there is not a video I can look up that'll be like, this is Tier, here's what it does, here's how you should be playing your games, here's what you should be managing. And I have no idea. There's really no incentive for people to make that content because it's
Like,
really
yeah, like
terrible for the algorithm.
I was gonna say, I actually made that video, but I was discouraged to post it because they were like, Nash, no one is gonna watch it. Like, you are just losing your time. Like, it's 1 hour straight of you explaining tier elements and talking about the combos and telling them that they should play it that way with the chain block series. It's like, it's like useless. Like, it's like a waste of time. People like memes. People
I
like
mean,
see the
yeah, no,
angry
I
Italian.
would I would really like to watch that video all the way through one time, and then like it
Mhm.
will underperform an 8-minute video where like, I see a picture of Alex's deck from Progression and I go, "Wow!" and then So it is, I think it's a casualty of like the algorithm, but it really sucks that we don't have that content.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I've noticed as well. But I think honestly, Nesh, you should post it. I think that'll be cool to see. I think that'll be sick. because I think that is something that I know you tagged me in, Joseph, in one of the tweets where like, oh, like maybe should Pack should look into this, and I definitely put some thought into like maybe one of these making a primer, but the format evolves so fast, it's kind of hard
Yeah.
to,
That's
because
the other thing is like
yeah,
these are so popular for like modern and legacy in Magic, but if you made a tier primer like this week, it would last a month, and then Hypernova would change everything, and then the ban list after Hypernova will change everything, and then they are
I think
really
I think I
short-lived.
can make a prime for Hypernova, but not for the ban list because if they touch Kit Kalos, like the entire line goes to shit. So might as well. The thing is, I use it to post a spreadsheet, and that's a thing that I also discussed with Pak. I actually love to write spreadsheet, but when you have a set coming out every month, like with which face are you trying to sell or you trying to advertise this massive work that's gonna only last for 1 month?
Right. The format moves so fast, and even with the spreadsheet, like there's some intangibles that are just really hard to get across to people, like game sense stuff, like what constitutes the mid game of a tier match, like how you should be playing particular or how you should be managing your resources in particular matchups. And like I think actually the thing that has I think competitive Yu-Gi-Oh has been done a huge disservice by the way that like algorithmically people are rewarded for making what is essentially just a combo guide and just like writing out a bunch of like steps that you can execute in game. It's like really helpful to get people to do like uh computationally sound best of all possible world combos, but really bad for giving people like an intuition about how they should be doing X or Y. Um but I don't know.
I think you can look at both sides. Like if you want really a format to overperform enhancing only the skills of a player, then you probably don't post it. If you want to ruin the format because you are evil inside and you hate the words and your mom didn't kiss you when you were a kid, then you might post it.
Exactly, yeah.
Joseph, before I think where that's just like looking at the camera like he's like I'm the evil. That's me. But I think this has been an interesting conversation. We've covered so many different topics in such little time. But one thing I definitely want to pick your brain at is if you were to go back in time with like your Yu-Gi-Oh journey so far, was there any moment that you would like to change? Anything
Hmm.
critical? Any critical points in your Yu-Gi-Oh journey that like your or even Yu-Gi tubing journey that you would kind of like wish went differently, or was it all like
Um yeah, in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh in particular, I would go back in time and be like get really good during like 2007, 2009 because
yeah
people were terrible then. They were really not good. It's crazy. I
yeah
want to I want to do the Nesh thing where I win like a prize card and then just sit on it for 1,000 years.
yeah
Um
okay
but no, in terms of Yugi tubing, I think like I said, I basically made videos into a void for a year.
mm-hmm.
Um and I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I'd like I was like, no, I'm going to be known as like the 10-minute testing guy. And I was like, I shouldn't have done that at all. I should have just made a whole bunch of videos about a bunch of different stuff, thrown a bunch of shit at the wall and seen what stuck. Um, the first like year and a half of my channel, I had almost no growth whatsoever. And it was like super demoralizing, but it was also like a hobby for me. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But I do kind of kick myself over being like, oh yeah, this could have been done like at least a year earlier if you would just kind of got over yourself and been like, okay, it's time to like, advertise yourself instead of being like, I sure hope this comes up in someone's recommended box.
Yeah. Who are your I guess biggest role models in this space from either Yu-Gi tubing standards, so you don't have to say a Yu-Gi-Oh player or like
Mhm.
anyone in the Yu-Gi tubing space, but rather like or just in general, like I guess who are your biggest like inspirations?
On YouTube, it's well in Yu-Gi-Oh specifically, I guess I would say Rada was big,
Yep.
obviously. The uh Yu-Gi-Oh for Real Men, I think everyone has pretty much made the connection that I'm just literally ripping off their content. Um when Kamina Cat used to upload, I think she goes by Genevieve now, and all the old 101s are gone, but I thought those were funny. and sought to emulate them a lot. For Yu-Gi-Oh in general, or for like card games and card gaming online in general, um, Brian Kibler was a huge inspiration.
Nice.
He's like the way that he is able to talk about card games is like really I really appreciate it. And the way that he's one of the first people who like carved out a living streaming and writing articles and being good at card games online was really fantastic. LSV from all the Channel Fireball people,
Center
Tolarian
Fireball, nice.
Community College, I'm pretty much ripping off as well. Uh, yeah, but basically just a bunch of Magic creators, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's so cool because I feel like you know, I know Gage and Simo looks like the RuneScape people. I mean, and
Hmm.
for you, at least in your case, you look more to like the Magic side of things, which is definitely sick because I think it's cool to get creators with different inspirations in this space that are like, you know, big. But that's cool. I actually played Magic only a couple times, so maybe one of these days I give it a shot for sure.
It
Don't.
it's fun. It has evolved to a thing that I am not super comfortable with anymore.
Okay.
I keep trying to jump back in, and it's like basically its parent company Hasbro has been like make as much out of this as you can constantly, and it's just like way overwhelming. There's like
Mhm.
45 formats, and you know it's a huge toss up as to whether any locals around you actually fire any of them,
Yep.
and cards are not designed like they rotate, right? So you would expect the benefit of rotating is that the power level can go down sometimes, and they just don't, and it gets more complex constantly. And I'm like, well, if I want a game that just gets endlessly more complex, I just play Yu-Gi-Oh. So
Yeah.
The
It's
they
funny
also,
thing about Magic,
Mhm.
actually, when there were the world record for Yu-Gi-Oh in Long Beach, the record was beaten by Magic, but because of the fact that they had multiple formats and multiple tournaments running at the same time, the record was not given to Magic the Gathering.
yeah.
Mm, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was actually at the same it was at the same event at Long Beach, I believe. It was like 2,500 people for three different formats for Magic. So technically they would have gone 7,500 Magic players in one area for like the world record at the time, but it, you know, and obviously we had like 4,300 or something like that, but you know, they didn't count it
Mhm.
from a Guinness World Record perspective because it was different tournaments or something, but it was all technically under the premise of Magic. So we'll take the W there.
That seems a little sus, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, one more person I just ripped all my shit off of.
Sure.
I hate card games. Levi Thomas
Okay.
does not make videos like this anymore. But
Yeah.
all the I hate card games videos, I just stole everything from.
Nice. Nice. That's awesome. I guess before we head out, huge shouts to you for coming on. And if you guys already aren't somehow not subscribed to the Ussies of Ussies,
Farfa? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Farfa and friends,
yeah,
Sub to
MET
Doug.
clip channel. But guys, definitely go check him out. It's a miracle if you somehow don't already know who this man is. But before we leave it off, last question of the day. Any tips for any last parting advice for anyone trying to, I guess, get into the Yugi tubing space?
Um, yeah, the number one thing that I tell people is, uh, don't get in your head about like uploading. Uh, what I think King Scarlet was really bad about this, and I was talking to him about it, and he was like, "Well, sometimes I'll finish a video and I'll be like, ah, this isn't that good. I shouldn't upload it." And I'm like, "Why? Just upload terrible videos constantly. Do you know how bad the, normal Yu-Gi-Oh videos are? They're worthless. Algorithmically, you got to get over yourself because you never know what other people are gonna find interesting and funny. And
Okay, but you also said another thing. You said that people came to you and they said, "Can you look at my channel?" And then they said, "Yeah, but my videos are terrible." And then you said, "No, then I don't want to look at those."
yeah, don't tell me your video is terrible. If it's terrible, just say it's
I mean,
great,
you are
and then I'll
saying
figure it out.
post them even if they are terrible, but then if we come at you and we try to be brutally honest saying that are terrible, then you don't want to look at them.
Yeah, just lie. Say, check out my
Exactly.
video. It's the greatest thing on earth. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely have some self confidence there as well, and then just not to get
I will
demoralized.
say
Yeah.
I have never met a Yu-Gi-Oh YouTuber who doesn't have a video in their like top 5 ever that they cannot fucking stand. Like a video of theirs that they're like frustrated blew up, or like it isn't up to their general standards, or they want to erase forever, but you
Yeah.
know, it blew up. So
Yeah, bro. There was one video I posted. It was just me, a complete vlog. I just ripped out my vlog for when I was at locals. I was like, screw it. I need a video. Hour 50. I don't care. If this kills, if this dies in algorithm, it dies. And then
Yeah.
it's like not too bad, you know? So you never know what people enjoy. People are like, oh, man, I love these videos. Or like, I learned so much watching these. I'm like, bro, I just,
sure.
oh, that's awesome. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted. But all right. Well, anyways, thank you guys. And today we conclude season 1. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Let us know your favorite part of the podcast, your favorite topics that we covered. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.